G'day guys, so now it's been a while. It's the first video in over a year. But I'm going to get straight to the point. In this video we're going to be dropping C4 on people's bases. Using the delivery crate. They're made in the same place as storage boxes. You'll just need a gas bag bladder, and you'll have to make it on the same server that you harvested it, as you can't transfer them. Lay a balloon down, and now we've got to get a Dodo up on top. You don't have to use a Dodo, but it can't be any bigger than a Dodo. There is another way I use to get the tames up on top, and sometimes you have to use this. The launch pad I use is 2 pillars up, then 1 foundation length across, and then 7 pillars up. So the 2 pillars come back a full foundation length, then 7. I used to use 6 pillars, which also works, but 7 seems to be more reliable. So now, push a delivery crate up against that 2 pillars. As close as you can get it. Climb up to the top of the 7 pillars. Look straight down as far as you can. And throw the tame at the centre of the balloon. My controller's broken, it keeps wanting to strafe to the left. Anyway, now that you've got a Dodo centred on the top of the balloon, you can attach C4 to it. In the case of the one we threw straight up there, of course you'd attach the C4 before you threw it. Anyway, what makes this work is, once you deploy the balloon inflates, which envelopes that Dodo and the C4, and hides it from the turrets. So each person can only have 1 balloon in flight at each time. So if you want to send another one off, you'll have to get a tribe mate to send this one off. You can set it and set the coordinates, but they'll have to deploy the balloon. Another thing to keep in mind is you must keep them in render the whole time. Otherwise the tame will fall off, the balloon will keep going, and the tame will just stay there suspended in the air. So what I'll often do is ride the balloon in myself, and then jump off before it gets to the target and parachute down, just to keep it in render. Anyway, this is the target we're going to be attacking. It's the ally of an enemy, so they've got to go. Built on an asteroid on Genesis, so it's really hard to get to. You can't just fly there. Well, you can, but it's a pain in the arse. With the gravity, tech turrets will push away any soakers. So what I did was go into single player and find the coordinates of that asteroid, and then send some balloons in. So these pillars mark 0.1 increments apart. That's the accuracy of the balloon. But they are very precise, so they'll keep hitting that same spot exactly every time. So to mark the coordinates on Xbox, you bring up your map, press B button, and then type that coordinates in. That'll put a pin on your map, and that's what you use to send the balloon in. So here I've marked out a few locations, and that'll let me walk the balloon onto a target, as I'm not exactly sure where the base is, but it's in here somewhere. Server 1230. I have a load of level 1 Dodos that I pulled off the beginner server. That's because they only could take like 3 minutes to clone. So I can make as many as I need. I never run out. I have to use the pillars to launch them here because of the gravity. I can't just throw them on top or it'll go flying through the air like fucking 500 meters. So get on top of the pillar and throw the Dodo out straight at the centre of the balloon. Ignore the pillar heights here, before I really optimised it. I have been able to glitch C4 directly onto the balloon, but it doesn't fly. It says it's obstructed, so you do have to use the Dodo. Remember to keep it in render at all times. You don't have to do this personally, you can have a spotter sitting up near the base to keep it in render. It'd be a lot faster if we had one spotter and a few launches. So I've positioned the balloon so it misses that net on top and comes down beside the base. You usually won't be able to see the explosion or hear it, but you can see the damage. It is a bit away from the wall, so I'm not getting maximum damage, but it's definitely getting through it. So that one blew a hatch frame off, which was holding up 2 other hatch frames. So it took 4 turrets out. And now 4 walls. Anyway, they knew something was happening at this point. You can see him dead on the roof there. He came up to see what was going on. They got on and patched it soon after this. Anyway, I did have another plan to get through the ceiling. So I moved the coordinates 0.1 north to see where to land. So it's hitting that corner. So I changed the coordinates again, this time 0.1 to the east. So I was striking that hatch frame there. But that's as good as we're going to get through that roof. So we've penetrated that net on top and straight down to the roof. Again, the moment I blew a hole through their base, they got online and patched it up. So they thwarted my plans yet again. This base I think was blown the next day. Some tribe mates found a blind spot and tech rifled up through the bottom, because it was all built on pillars. Anyway, so sometimes a target isn't built on a landmark, so you can't easily find it on single player. Like this teleporter. So what I did was just walk due west into it until it shoots me, and I know the range of a turret, so I can add that to the coordinates and then walk the balloon onto target. I did that by riding the balloon in just to see exactly where it's going to land. So the balloon will expand around you, but it won't hide you the way it does with a Dodo. The turrets will still shoot you. So by riding it in, I can see that I haven't quite come across far enough, and I need to come south a little bit more. So I went 0.1 south and 0.1 west. It is quite tight and a bit of a pain to get two up on there. The double Dodos didn't seem to work. I tried it a few times, but it wasn't as reliable as just using one, so I went back to using one. I think that time all it did was blow up a dino leash somehow. But as you can see, it blew way up above. Anyway, I wanted to get right on top of that teleporter, so I walked it down another 0.1 and another 0.1 to the west. And riding it in showed it's going to land right in the centre of that teleporter. Anyway, I made another launch site with the 2 and 7 pillars. That's because I went away from using the Dodos and started using the babies of the dinos that I didn't want to raise, as they had the lower stats. So here I'm using a Palovia, just a baby Palovia. So stick C4 to him and launch him off the same way as the Dodo. In fact, I think the Palovias seem to work better. They seem to always dump the maximum damage down. Baby Wolves did the same, and I'm sure there's plenty of babies that you can use as long as they're small enough. Remember to keep the balloon in render at all times. They haven't been here for 10 minutes. They had a tech sensor here, I'm sure, because they'd always come in as soon as I get near it. You get a lot of visual glitches with this. You can see the Polovia trailing behind, but it's actually on top of the balloon. So 14 to 12, that's actually the maximum damage you can do against a teleporter with one C4. It's going to take a lot. They kept teleporting in and finding dead baby Polovias sitting on their teleporter. The only thing that would be appearing in their log would be that they're destroying C4. As it's my C4 that's killing the Dodos and the Polovias. They teleported in a giga and just left it sitting there for some reason. Maybe to stop the baby Polovias, I don't know. Anyway, I was only really weakening this teleporter in order to get it ready to take out at a more useful time. As it's not hard to replace a teleporter, particularly when all the turrets are still there. Anyway, the teleporter was pushed more conventionally. This is my Tridemates. If I'm using a Tridemates footage, I'll note it in the bottom right with their name. They tried to push back with a few gigas, but they didn't last long. Stegos are a bit OP now, aren't they? You could often just walk straight through someone's base with them. It's a bit ridiculous how protected the rider is. Anyway, let's go and try something different. I marked out a launch location on the single player and then used a balloon to get there on the official servers. So from this location I can get to the base and it won't try and go over a tree and thus go out of the map. Balloons never go under anything, they always try to go over it. So if the trees in the swamp go up through the top of the map, the balloon will try to go over it as well. And thus push anything off that's riding on the balloon. So finding a launch location that missed those big trees was critical. You can launch nearly any time with a balloon. So here I'm going to send a turtle in, about 107,000 health. And I'm going to ride the turtle myself until it gets to the base. I'll speed up the trip. There is a glitch that happens when you jump off a tame that's riding on a balloon. It'll kind of stay there, but it's technically still on the balloon. And it'll teleport down once that balloon breaks. You'll notice the turret starts shooting, but don't actually hit it. Until it touches down, and now the turtle's down there. They are online, or at least pretending to be. Anyway, the turtle sat there for a bit over a minute, draining those turrets. Tech turrets hold about 14.5 minutes worth of ammo in them, so 14 turtles, which isn't that much, would drain that base. It'd actually be a bit less than that since there's heavies firing as well, and they run out in about 8.5 minutes. And once they've run out, the turtles will last longer. Anyway, I'll just get rid of that giga that they mustn't want. "59 arrows later. I can make my escape back to the launch site just by parachuting back. I did only send 2 in though. Anyway, finally, there is an exception. You can't just send any tame in. Here I'll build a launch site for the races. It's just 2 walls up, a couple ramps, and then a pillar in the front to line the delivery crate up with. The racer can walk straight up there and you'll see it jump as it hits the balloon. Then it's ready to launch. So no problems there. To knock balloons out of the air, you have to use something that can destroy structures. It's practically like destroying a storage box. You can't just snipe the balloon. Anyway, here I've mounted a platform racer on the balloon. And you'll notice I can't launch it. You can't launch any platform saddles. Now there is a way around it though. Launch your racer with a normal saddle and then switch it out while it's in transit. And now it's flying with the platform saddle. This is the only way I can get around doing that. I've tried walking it on top as it's inflating and it doesn't seem to work. You have to build it as it's in the air. So it does kind of rule out builds where you're building the side down. But you can easily armour the top and build your little bloody battering ram on the front. Just make sure you've launched it far enough away that you have time to build it. Remember you're moving, so try not to jump and just put ramps in where you need them. Anyway, that's all the secrets of the delivery crate. Let us know if you know any more down in the comments below. Anyway, here's a giveaway for those playing on Xbox. Ragnarok 920 at those coordinates. Find the Polovia and you'll have all what's necessary to send 2 balloons in. I've no affiliation with this server, it just had no people in it, so that's where I went. First person that kills it gets the loot. I do have a request myself though. I've lost a few characters, and if anyone's running a boss fight, let me know, like an alpha. I've done Alpha Valguero, that's all I've done. So let us know if you can get me in any other boss fights. My gamer tag's X1WingX with spaces. Send us a message. I can't really offer you anything because posting this online is more likely to get me in a cage than in a boss fight. But maybe we can do something after.